Good afternoon, Rowan.
And thanks for your time. Now, the Christian lobby says brothels increase trafficking in women and that brothels simply legitimise pimps. Are they right?
Not at all. Not at all. It's, sex workers are the experts of our business, and maybe we should be commenting about it. And, yeah.
So tell me, well, you've said they're wrong in those two claims, so tell me why they are wrong, in your view.
Well, basically in the Swedish model, one of my friends here, she's an escort from Sweden, and she states how the concept of the law is really weird and it's not very functional. When they sent out the proposition for the law, for consultation, 98 out of 100 people said no to it, especially all of the legal system, as they said this law is going to be completely impossible to implement, and we're not going to be able to implement it. But the politicians didn't care and they went ahead with it anyway. And also the entire victim mentality of sex workers from the religious groups. It's like, oh please, we want to save you, and if you're not going to want to be saved, then we're going to punish you. And it's not fair whatsoever. There's been a trafficking last year in October. There was the UK's biggest ever investigation of sex trafficking failed to find a single person who had that forced anyone into prostitution, in spite of hundreds of raids on sex workers in a 6-month campaign. The failure has been disclosed by the Guardian investigation, which also suggested the scale of the nature of sex trafficking in the UK had been exaggerated by politicians and media.
Seranna, can I ask you, I guess we're talking about the issue of exploitation here. Do you believe that sex workers are more or less likely to be exploited working in a brothel?
Well, not at all. You've got better occupational health and safety standards. And as long as people are working legally and they can stand up for their rights, for their workplaces, brothels are so much best practice. And since it was decriminalised in New Zealand, some things haven't changed. Media fascination with prostitution hasn't changed. The number of sex workers hasn't changed, and the demand of sexual services hasn't changed after decriminalisation in New Zealand.
What's the N.T government told you about? You're saying the current system needs to change, that of registering each sex worker here in the territory. Do you believe that there will be a change in that?
I think so. I think we've got a pretty good case on our hands. It's only the agency-based workers that are registered with the police. The fact is when people are registered, it's come back to bite them later on, 5 years later, and the police have been told on more than one occasion, actually twice that I know of, that people have been unsuitable to work in work as social workers and with children. And this is completely unacceptable. It's discriminatory and it's against human rights and civil rights.
All right. Good to talk to you, Seranna. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
That's Seranna Shutt.